I'll tell you what, though, when you look back on Jimbo, and I mean, he was yelling about all this stuff back in the 90s. If you go and look back on his speeches, he was against China, he was against NAFTA, he was against immigration, he wanted strong borders. He was yelling his head off about that years and years ago, way before anybody else. And a lot of people looked at him like he was a goofball. Well, in a way he was, but but he was our goofball. And I'll tell you what, though, that guy was something else. Some people have a bad feeling about him and said he was a crook and everything, but he had a lot of redeeming qualities. And I really do think that he fought for the Mahoning Valley. And he really used to get a lot of publicity, national publicity. Remember when Donahue came to Youngstown and they did like a 2-3 day town hall live from Stamp Auditorium, and people like Vic Rubenstein and the people that were against him were yelling at him and everything else. But boy, Traficant was definitely one of a kind, man. And I had a couple of encounters with him over the years,
Positive encounters? Or?
Yeah, I would say with Jim, or, and Jim was one of those guys that was always, he was a football player. He played football for Pitt. He was a pretty tough guy, he was a big guy too. And he was one of those guys that always put you in a headlock, or, whenever you squeeze your hand and pull you and stuff like that. So whenever you'd run into him, it's, like that kind of stuff. And I remember this one day we were doing a benefit for Traficant. We used to do, now that's interesting. He said Trump would have picked Traficant to run with him. My question is, though, was Traficant too much of a maverick to team up with these guys? And, I mean, they share a lot of things, but, when you look at the core of Traficant and the core of Trump, Jimbo, he was a son of a truck driver. He lived right up the street from us on Powers Hill. He lived on Samuel Street. I mean, he was born right there, a block from the steel mill, and his dad was a truck driver. And he come from an entirely different world. I mean, he definitely came from a working class background and working class neighborhood. And I think they might have had that difference there. But like I say, I don't want to get into that kind of stuff. But Jim, man, when you look at that, and how about those 1-minute speeches he used to do with "Beam Me Up"? And I mean,
classic.
You couldn't get enough of the guy. When Traficant was congressman, when we were on the air, we never had a lack of material. I mean, that really helped the big radio show on CD 106, because with him, it was always something different every single day. It was something with Jim, and I mean, we were just writing these bits like they would just come right off the top of your head. Anything he would say, we would write a song about or whatever.
Yeah,
we did 50 Ways to Be Indicted by Paul Simon, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. We did that. We did a song called Mob Town to Michael Stanley, My Town, which was a pretty good one. We also did one, the Congressman to the Candyman, and it was like, who can take some bullshit, spin it all around, the Congressman can. You know what? I should put those things out on Spotify or something.
Do it
on,
Are they out there? Maybe on YouTube somewhere?
No. But I should
library.
I should just do the whole CD. We put the CD out. We did the Jim Traficant birthday party at the Royal Oaks one year. And it was just crazy. It was just off the hook. And we put the CD out, and Jason Van Hoos, the artist, has that one famous painting he did of Traficant. He's like Jesus and with a crown of thorns on and everything. So, those were some wild times back then. So anyways, we were doing this. Linda Carson says Traficant wasn't afraid to cuss on TV. Oh, he wouldn't. He did not care. You'd have him on. He'd drop F-bombs, bullshit and everything else. He didn't care, live or not. He would just say whatever was on his mind, and he would just go.
I would love to see him when he was in his prime in today's climate. He could probably because now it's a little weirder than it was. It's not so straight-laced and whatever. I think he'd be more effective.
Oh, yeah. And plus with social media, if he would have got on there and, just with all his slogans, and I'll tell you what, if he would have been able to put those minute speeches out, like on Facebook and on X. And if he was able to push that big blitz out there, oh man, there's no telling where he would be. Yeah, he spoke the simple man's English. That's right. There was nothing fancy about Traficant.
That's right.
And I'll tell you another thing that some people disagree with, but you know, he was really out to help people. Sometimes he helped the wrong people, but you know, friends helping friends. What's wrong with that? I think that's the Youngstown mantra. You know, friends helping friends. Hey,
Croatians helping the Croatians.
Right. Hey, you know, I needed some work on my boat. You needed this or whatever. Hey, you know, you're my friend. I'm helping you.
That's right.
And you're helping me. But that used to be, I think, the mantra of the city of Youngstown. Like, I'm just helping out a friend. That's all. Although, you know what, though, the one flaw in that argument was when you're helping out your friend, you usually don't expect anything in return. That's how you help out a friend. You help them out and you move on.
But the shit that he was doing goes on every day in regular politics.
Yeah.
So they're all doing the same shit.
Yeah. 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 He lived on a boat when he was in Washington, D.C. Nothing fancy, you know. And so anyways, to get to this story. Oh, but getting back to that too, he really did help people. And we, you know, when we would have him on the air, and some people would say, "Oh, that was all a fake," you know, those were planted calls. But wherever I would go afterwards, like say I had him on the air, and then like for the next week or two, people would come up to me and say, "Hey, thanks for having Jim on the air. You know what? I had this problem with Social Security and I called his office and he helped me out." Or my son got into this thing with in the military and he's got in some kind of trouble or whatever. And, you know, Jim made some calls and helped straighten it out. Or, you know what? I was having a problem with the VA, and he really did help a lot of people. I know that as a fact, you know. And so anyways, we used to do these jamborees at Ridge Lake in Mineral Ridge, and would have like 5 or 6 country/rock bands, and you could buy, you know, half-gallon jugs of beer, and people are drinking them like they're drinking a cup of beer, you know. Nice. And we used to have these crazy jamborees. So the one day, the guy that owned the place, I think, was involved in politics there. A couple of the guys were involved in politics in Mineral Ridge. And he says, "Hey, we got to do one of these for Traficant for a fundraiser." And it's like, you know, I don't really do that kind of stuff, but you know, since the radio station was being paid, you know, it's like, okay, you guys go out there and we're going to do this jamboree, and it's a fundraiser for Traficant. And so we go out there, and so as soon as we mention the word jamboree, Ridge Lake, all our lunatics are out there, right? I mean, they don't care if it's for Traficant. They don't care. All they know is there's going to be 6 bands, and we're going to have beer out of plastic jugs. And me and Gary Z are going to host the festivities, and it's just going to be a crazy, goofy time. Well, you know, when you see something like that, the vibe's a little different, you know, and, you know, there's like families coming out and stuff. It's just not like, you know, diehard party people who did show up and are balls out, and it's a jamboree, you know. So we're sitting in this car, right? And this one dude, you know how these band people are, these rock and roll people. And so we're sitting in the car, and this one dude does a line. Okay. And I look over and I see Traficant running towards us full speed ahead. He looks like he's playing for Pitt, and he's making a mad dash, you know? And I'm just sitting there going, "Oh, I just started in the radio business. It's going to be all over," because this is when Traficant was really the anti-drug sheriff, and he was passing out little things like how to tell if your kids are on dope. And one of the things that how to tell your kids are on dope was something like spends a long periods of time in his bedroom alone. Well, Viking Jim's mom got a picture of the card, and when Vike was in the bedroom, he wasn't doing drugs. No. Let's just put it that way. And I think to this day, Viking Jim still has a little bit of a little bit of angst about Jim Traficant.
Little drama.
Yeah, I think, you know, hey, if your child spends an inordinate amount of time in their bedroom, and it was other things, listens to loud, you know, Black Sabbath music or whatever. So anyways, there we are. We're sitting in that car. And here I'm just looking, I'm going, what the hell? You know, it's like going in slow motion, you know. Here, the crowd was so sparse, he was just going over to see another crowd of people, and he was running over there to shake their hands.
Oh,
everybody in that car was like, woo, okay, we need new underwear here. So then as the day goes on, it finally comes to the point where I have to introduce Jim, right? And by this time, I am 3 sheets to the wind, right? And I'm like, oh boy, So I get up there and I think, okay, I'm going to loosen everybody up. I'm going to tell this joke, okay? So I'm up there and I start telling this joke, right? And the joke is going on. It's just this long joke. And the joke is going on, and Traficant's standing on the edge of the stage, and he's kind of watching me, like, okay, come on, hurry it along, And so I go to tell the punchline of the joke, and I completely forget it. I draw a blank. It took me 5 minutes to set up this joke, and everybody was listening. Everybody wanted to hear the joke. And then I go, and then the guy said,
oh, shit.
And then the guy said, next thing you know, Traficant comes running out of the thing. He grabs me by the collar and boom, smacks me right in the head.
Oh my goodness.
And I go, ladies and gentlemen, here's Jim. And everybody went crazy.
They totally forgot about the joke.
They totally
saved your ass.
Today, with a big smack right to the head. Boom. I was like, what the hell?
Do you remember the punchline, by the way? Do you know?
After I did, yeah. It was something like, let me see if I can even remember the joke. Oh, okay. So this guy and his buddies were oh
shit, here we go again.
This guy and his buddies were talking in the bar, and they said, hey, listen, coming up this Sunday, we're gonna all get together, we're gonna go up to the Browns game. And the guy goes, oh man, I can't go this Sunday. He goes, Johnson says the walleye are biting like crazy up on Lake Erie. A couple weeks go by again, and they say the same thing. This time it's like, hey, listen, we're going to go, we're going to go down the mountain here, play some casino and everything and have some fun. He goes, you want to go along? He goes, man, guys, I would like to, but Johnson says the walleye are biting like crazy on Lake Erie. Third week goes by, same thing. They wanted to go somewhere else. They go, you coming along this time? He goes, nope, I can't. Johnson says the walleye are biting like crazy on Lake Erie. His buddies finally said, since when did you become a fisherman? He goes, I'm not. When Johnson's up there fishing, I'm banging his old lady. So that was the joke.
Oh,
but partying from like 10 o'clock in the morning till it was time for Jim to go on stage. It was a little different, but that was one of my main Traficant stories there, man. It was such a bizarre day too, because we weren't there for any political reasons or anything. We were just there to do our little thing that we do at lakes in the middle of summer, we did some other things with him over the years, and it's a shame. I think that guy had a lot of potential. I think he could have went really far. So